So although the Seattle Seahawks ended up losing to the San Francisco 49ers, there were so many moments over the course of this game where I watched it and said, that looks really, really, really good. And if the Seattle Seahawks can just fix one or two issues that I kind of saw on tape, which we will get into in this video, the Seattle Seahawks are going to push for the playoffs, and they're with this core of guys going to push for the Super Bowl. Right? The Seahawks aren't going to go out there and get a new quarterback or a new offensive tackle or a new defensive lineman that's going to put them over the top. It's this unit right here. It's this coaching staff that the Seahawks are banking on to take them to the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. What I'm saying is I think the core group of guys that the Seahawks have really, really impressed me. And I want to go ahead and just talk about it. Well, we'll start right away with the play that actually lost the Seahawks the game. 2nd and 5, you're at the 9-yard line. The score is 13-17. You're down by 4 points. And your right tackle ends up not being able to anchor down against a really good defensive end in Nick Bosa. And the quarterback, as he's about to throw the football, has the tackle kind of getting pushed right back into him. The ball hits the back of the right tackle. You get this fumble. The game's over. And it's an unfortunate play because of the fact that 6 plays earlier, you're about to start this drive down 4 with 1 minute and 15 seconds left. And within 2 plays, you're all the way down already within the 49ers red zone area. And it's a beautiful pass, right? It's a 40-yard pass that really set up most of this. But just think about the moment. The Seattle Seahawks come out there down 4 against one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and they get right into position to win this game. Super quickly, the guys delivered, the play calling was really good as well. And the offensive line did a phenomenal job on that 40-yard pass. And, to me, those are the moments that kind of matter. And I know Seahawks fans won't think about this because you lost the game at the end of the day. This is a great learning lesson for the offensive line, for the quarterback, for the play caller. This is a great play, it's a great moment to develop. The worst thing you want to happen is have this moment happen in week 17. You're fighting to get into the playoffs. You'd rather have it happen in week 1 against a really, really good 49ers team and specifically a 49ers defensive coordinator, great defense, right, from a scheme perspective. But I want to actually talk a little bit about some of these plays. I want to talk about some of these guys. We'll talk about some of the offensive linemen on an individual level. Abe Lucas did not have a terrible game, which I think some people think because of that final play. Charles Cross might be elite. Literally might be elite. We'll talk about him. Byron Murphy had so many great moments as well. Demarcus Lawrence, you had a couple of interceptions on the defensive side. But let's go ahead and just start with that 40-yard play. I mentioned that the O-line does a phenomenal job, and I don't think people recognize how great of a block this was by 2 guys. So let's set this up a little bit. So the offensive line here, you're going to have a couple of guys that are going to help out, right? You have the running back in, you have some chip blocks as well. The 49ers are showing that they're bringing 6 or 7 guys. And it's linebacker number 53, D Winters, who's going to end up running a inside stunt with the 2 defensive tackles. So you're going to have the first guy here slant across the center's face. You're going to have D Winters attack the right guard and the defensive tackle in the long 3 technique that's going to lock in with the right guard. As soon as Winters makes contact, the long 3 technique is going to come around, and he's going to shoot the A-gap between the center. Think about what's happening within this play, and then think about like the assignments and some of what you have to do as an offensive line to pick this up. Because the Seattle Seahawks did a phenomenal job picking this up. So first and foremost, D Winters goes and takes a huge shot on Anthony Bradford. But the running back who has the responsibility of picking up D Winters, this guy does a great job making contact with 53 and essentially eliminating him from this play. On the defensive line game, the guy that initially starts the game, he's still in the play. He can still technically make the play if you overshoot for the guy that's looping around. So D Winters takes out the right guard, but the running back takes out D Winters. Now you still have a guy that's coming free, but then look at the center here. Look at Gray Zabel recognize super quickly that Fred Warner is dropping off. Gray Zabel quickly switches with the center and takes his guy. And to me, the center here does a phenomenal job. Jalen Sundell is a very, very good center. The fact that he's able to pass it off and quickly come back over here to the right, and he takes away this guy who basically would have had a free shot at the quarterback had the center not picked this up. I'm telling you guys right now, Sundell looks good, man. He may have been, the steal of the undrafted guys of the 2024 NFL draft. The fact that this guy's starting now for the Seahawks, he looked really good in my opinion. But it wasn't just him. I think the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, generally speaking, looked really good out there. And pretty much from left tackle to right tackle, there were so many great moments. I think Charles Cross, and we'll just start with him right away. I think he's elite, man, and I don't say this lightly. The guy did not give up any quarterback sacks, any quarterback hits, any quarterback pressures. He had multiple plays where he went up against Nick Bosa, and he just shut him down. Now, we do have to recognize that the Seattle Seahawks are, they're a run, not heavy, but, they're going to run the football. They're going to run a lot of bootlegs. They're going to get out of the pocket a lot, and all that stuff does help the offensive lineman out. But just the movement by Cross. A couple of years ago when Cross came into the NFL, one of the things I had noticed was he leans. He leans into guys when he's trying to block guys. He's not leaning anymore at this point. He's using his hands. He's using the movement, the quickness. To me, this guy looks very, very, very good out there on tape. And I think the Seattle Seahawks have themselves a top-tier left tackle. Gray Zabel looks like a rookie, but he looks like a good rookie. He looks like a guy that was taken in the first round. He looks like a guy that was considered one of the best interior offensive linemen coming out of college. And even, just generally speaking, the run game for the Seattle Seahawks. I know, like, if you look at the final stats, it wasn't like eye-popping, right? Kenneth Walker had, I think, like 20 yards and 10 carries. Charbonnet had almost 45 yards. He averaged 3.9 yards per attempt. So, his game was pretty solid, but there were a lot of moments where the Seahawks had like 4, 5, 6, 7-yard runs. And there were a lot of moments where the offensive lineman did a great job within this run scheme. There was this play here, for example, where you're going to get a 6-yard run by Charbonnet towards the right. If you look at the reach blocks here by Charles Cross and Jalen Sundo, both of these guys end up reach blocking their guy. And, those two blocks right there are key for this play to be able to kind of pick up the yards that it picks up. When you're a heavy, like, outside zone or wide zone type of run scheme, which obviously the Seahawks are now under Kubiak, when you're running those wide zone type of concepts, your reach blocks are very important because those reach blocks open up the backside cuts, right? Or even if it's not a backside cut, it's like, you're running front side and you have to cut it underneath. Those reach blocks are key. Even on this next play here, it's a 5-yard run towards the left. You have a phenomenal reach block by Gray Zabel, Anthony Bradford, and Abraham Lucas. All three of these guys do a great job reach blocking. Now, these are actually back-to-back run plays, and they're kind of the opposite. One's to the right, one's to the left. But you're seeing all 5 of the offensive linemen reach block. And again, I can't overlook how important these blocks are to have those cutback lanes kind of develop. To me, I think the Seahawks run game is going to be really good this season. I think their offensive line is going to be absolutely elite. Now, the one question mark I think we will have is, Gray Zabel's a rookie. He's going to be a really, really good rookie. So I don't have any issues with him. Sundell looks great. I think the one issue is going to be Anthony Bradford. I'm not sure if, long-term this is going to be the Seahawks guy for the season because I do think we're going to get to a point where there's going to be moments where, he bullies people, and this is a fact with Bradford. You'll see this guy bully people, and you'll see this guy put people in the dirt. He's physical. He's mean out there. And he's done this for the entirety of preseason. He kind of sets the tone out there. But then you also see plays where it's a little inconsistent, right? He'll miss a block and he'll lose 3 yards, like on this play here. Right, so sometimes it's just inconsistent when you look at a guy like Bradford. So I think Bradford just has to be a little bit more consistent, just has to clean some things up. And at that point, I think he would be a good starting right guard. But at the same time, do these blocks lead to him, if it's 4th and 2 and the Seahawks need to pick this up or they lose the game, is Bradford going to miss that key block? Those are the question marks that I would have as we kind of get into it. Now, also, some people are going to say, hey, the run game wasn't that great, right? One of the things we have to think about is from a scheme perspective, what are the 49ers doing? What are the Seahawks doing? The 49ers did make a change after the end of the first quarter. In the first quarter, the Seahawks had 9 carries for 35 rushing yards. In the second quarter, the 49ers started stacking the box a little bit. Second quarter, third quarter, they stacked the box. They stopped doing it as much at some point. I think it was like the second drive, of the third quarter. And the Seahawks started busting off, big runs again as the game kind of started winding down a little bit. I think the Seahawks on the offensive side, it's going to take some time because it is a new quarterback. You have some moving pieces on the offensive line. You get even the weapons a little bit different this year than they were last season. So it's going to take time. And again, the big factor is that you have a new offense coordinator. I think that makes a massive difference. But I do think the Seahawks will bounce back. And also just talking a little bit about the fact that, it is a new offense coordinator. There were plays yesterday that I saw where like the timing was just off a little bit. like Najigba ends up hitting a route, but the quarterback throws it before Najigba actually finishes the stem aspect of this route. There's another play, the tight end Barner ends up running a whip in, and the quarterback thinks he's going to just hit like a stick route towards the outside. So the quarterback throws it outside, and then Barner's whipping back to the inside. So just little things like that I noticed from a timing perspective. It wasn't perfect. And again, these are things that you kind of clean up with time, with experience, with more reps. These are the little things that you kind of get cleaned up. But some of what I saw from Sam Darnold, I like that he made a lot of smart plays. I like that he kind of let the things just naturally develop. He wasn't being overly aggressive. And I think that gave the Seahawks a chance at the end of the game. Don't look at this 49ers game and say, hey, this player did this or this player did this, because the 49ers have an elite defensive coordinator. It's a bad game to say, this happens, so this is what we should expect the rest of the season. Right? Don't be surprised if Sam Darnold throws for 300 yards. Maybe not against the Steelers, although the Steelers did struggle a little bit against the Jets. But you got a couple of easier games on the other side of that. Or you got the Saints, the Cardinals. Those aren't elite defenses. Let the first 4 weeks of this season end. I think then you'll realize the type of team that the Seahawks will be on the offensive side. We should also just talk a little bit more about Abraham Lucas. If you guys have watched this channel long enough, you guys know that I am a huge fan of Lucas. And I am still an absolute huge fan of Lucas. In the past, like in his rookie season, I said I think Lucas has like top 5 potential. The injury, obviously, at this point has, it has changed that at this point, right? I still think Lucas has the potential to be a really, really good offensive tackle, but the movement is not the same that he once had, and I think that's very clear just watching his tape. He's not as quick. Now, don't confuse that for me saying he's slow, right? He's still faster than like DeJuan Jones, for example. He's faster than a guy like Trent Brown, and he's probably still faster than majority of offensive tackles. But he's not what he was in his rookie season. And I reference movement and quickness and the ability to change direction as a tackle, because that's the most important trait for an offensive tackle to be good, right? If a guy's going to be elite, the most important trait is movement. And, I learned that from my scouting work that I've done for the last couple of seasons, right? Movement is key for offensive tackles. Lucas doesn't have the same movement, but that doesn't mean he's a bad football player. In fact, I could show you guys 20 blocks of this guy winning in yesterday's game. And he only gave up that 1 sack, really, right? I think he had one other play he may have lost in pass pro. It wasn't even a loss. I think the guy just kind of pushed him back, and he ended up anchoring down at the end of it, but he did get close to the quarterback, so it counted as a pressure. But outside of those 2 plays, he was pretty damn stout in pass pro. And in run blocking, Lucas is still really, really good. I think he's arguably one of the better run blockers in the NFL as an offense tackle, right? And it's because he's strong and he's smart. So I still think Lucas will be a really, really good offense tackle. I think the fact that the Seahawks already kind of, gave him that extension, it just backs that up as well, right? They've seen this guy enough at this point where they feel confident that he will bounce back eventually down the line and become that guy again. So to me, really like Lucas still, but we'll see if he develops into, a top 5 guy or a top 15 guy. Charles Cross, we've already kind of talked about him. He looks really good. Sundell looks really, really impressive as well. Same with the rookie left guard, although, he'll have to kind of continue to develop. But another guy that flashed out there for me on the defensive side was Byron Murphy. Now, before we move forward, I want to just take the next 60 seconds to talk to you guys about today's sponsor, ProfitX. This is America's #1 sports prediction market. ProfitX is peer-to-peer, so you'll be playing against real users as opposed to traditional sports books where you'll be playing against the house. This means that ProfitX is going to give you much better odds. If you guys want to make picks on the NFL, ProfitX has you covered. But if you're like me and you want to make picks on multiple other sports, ProfitX has you taken care of there as well. From the Ryder Cup to the Premier League, ProfitX has pretty much every major sport. And one of my favorite parts about this platform is that if the odds don't already exist that you want on any given player, you can basically just request it. ProfitX will make it happen. And if you use my link to go sign up right now, ProfitX is going to give you $200 in free money. For every dollar that you put into ProfitX, they will essentially match it. So make sure you guys go check out the link down in the comments below. Let's get right back into the content. But another guy that flashed out there for me on the defensive side was Byron Murphy. When he came out last season, right? When he came out as a rookie defensive lineman, I always felt that, hey, this guy has to develop as a pass rusher. He has to develop as a run defender. And he has to develop to become a guy worthy of a first-round pick. And this is his second season, and we're seeing some development kind of taking place. And I wanted to show you guys some of these plays. We'll start with some of his run defense first. There was a couple of really, really nice plays against the run that this guy made. He was making tackles. He was being disruptive. He was getting in the backfield, which allowed other guys to swarm to the football. There was one play where the center actually had a super simple down block on Murphy. I mean, this doesn't get simpler than this. Murphy's already to the left side of the center. The play is to the right side. All the center has to do is just kind of hold the block. I mean, it literally does not get easier. And Murphy just straight up gets right over the top of this guy, and he blows the play up. But the thing that, I look at when I look at this play right here is like the trait element. Murphy's tape as he came out of college showed a guy that plays with great leverage. This is a guy that stays lower than probably 99% of defensive tackles out there. And that one run play right there kind of flashes that. He stays super low. The hands lock in perfectly with the center. And look at him just kind of use those hands, use that leverage, toss this guy over here towards the right. And then he ends up getting right into the backfield and kind of blows it up. Right? This right here is what Murphy flashes. This is a guy that's super fast, super explosive, super quick. And, it's just about like getting reps and developing and being put into place to do certain things, which to me, the coach here does do a great job with Murphy. And he does a great job utilizing this guy's, like the explosive tendencies he has. Because there are plays where he just kind of like, maybe it's like a defensive line game and he shoots the gap and then a guy kind of comes underneath it. But like he's the first guy that goes and he causes disruption. The quarterback has to maybe run away from him and then another guy kind of cleans it up. There was another play, right? It was a first down from the 6-yard line. The offense is going to try to run a zone run away from Murphy. And Murphy does a phenomenal job beating the reach block on this one. He's going to slant super hard. He explodes through that A-gap. And this one here loses 2 yards. This is 100% because of the fact that Murphy is so damn explosive. And he has great movement. Not every single defensive tackle. I'll use Jonathan Hankins as an example. Hankins is a great run defender. But Hankins is a guy that's going to like take on blocks and he's going to fight the block. And he's going to kind of stay within a gap. A gap right, gap left. He's not jumping 2 gaps and exploding through and getting into the backfield. Hankins doesn't have that movement that Murphy has. With Murphy, you're seeing this guy explode the gap. And I always talk about traits because if a guy's not getting like 4 sacks every game, people think he's not a good football player. But in the NFL, it's a team game, right? You can get guys that end up, there's guys that go under the radar and then they get massive contracts because the team recognizes their value. So you look at a guy like Murphy and you're seeing what the team is kind of doing with him, right? They're using him in different moments and, the quickness is used for him as a pass rusher. And I want to just kind of show you guys an example of exactly what I'm talking about. The Seahawks are going to come out in a 5-man front. They're going to end up getting a sack. This is going to be a loss of 12 yards. To me, this right here is kind of created by Murphy. And truth be told, he's technically in the backfield. You can assume, you can give him credit for like half a sack if you really wanted to. But think about this play right here. You have a linebacker, a safety kind of coming down into the box. The 49ers know that someone is potentially blitzing and they got to figure out who's blitzing, got to figure out which way they're going to slide. And the Seahawks are actually going to run a simulated pressure. So what that means is Murphy, the defensive end, is going to end up dropping off and Love ends up blitzing the A-gap to the left of the center, the left of how we're looking at it. And then with that, Murphy playing nose tackle is going to slant to the right side, which is going to open up that A-gap a little bit to the left side of the center. And, you're just running a simulated pressure. One guy drops off, one guy comes into a completely different gap. Murphy's so fast and explosive, the offensive line can't, they can't swap that because it's so quick. The center can't pass off Murphy and then get back over to the linebacker, or to the safety, I should say, because it's just so fast. It's just so quick. The way these guys are able to kind of just make that happen. That's the quickness that Murphy has. So, the head coach is essentially putting Murphy into these specific positions to have success. Right? The head coach is designing plays for Murphy because he understands what this guy can kind of do. So to me, Murphy looked really, really, really impressive. Now, I do think he needs to continue to fine tune the technique. The very first thing that makes a defensive tackle elite, it's the same thing with offensive linemen. It's the same thing with O-line and D-line, is movement. It is the most important factor. It's the most, it's by far the key to these guys being good football players. Murphy has movement already on lock, right? He's already a great mover. He just needs to develop the technique. And it's not like he doesn't have technique, right? He tries different moves. Like he'll hesitate on one move, he'll try a club move on another pass rush, and it's not perfect, right? Like it doesn't work 100% of the time, but he is trying different pass rush moves. And I think for Murphy, getting into the backfield and trying different moves as a pass rusher, over time he's going to just fine tune it a little bit more, right? A little bit here, a little bit there, and over time he'll develop into a good football player. At least in my opinion, I think Murphy flashes a ton of upside. And there's a couple more guys I want to just kind of give a shout out to, because I think Demarcus Lawrence, and Ernest Jones, both guys look really good, right? Demarcus Lawrence obviously coming over to the Seahawks. You knew this guy was a great run defender, and he flashed that, right? You knew that was a scouting report on a guy like Demarcus Lawrence. The guy ended up having multiple plays where he was just getting after it in the run game. I would make the argument Demarcus Lawrence has the biggest impact for the Seahawks against the 49ers to kind of keep Christian McCaffrey in check. Demarcus Lawrence, right? There's plays where he just kind of gets right underneath this guy. He stands up these offensive linemen. He stands up these tight ends. This is part of what he does as a run defender, right? He stands guys up and he sets the front side edge. He'll come backside if that's kind of what it is. Demarcus Lawrence, one of the big factors as to why Christian McCaffrey didn't have a whole lot of success. Now, McCaffrey had a couple of nice plays, but like generally speaking, he didn't have any super long carry, right? A lot of these plays were like 2-3 yard runs. Ernest Jones had 10 tackles and an interception. And Ernest Jones was another reason as to why Christian McCaffrey was kind of held in check. The guy was coming downhill. He was hitting. He was physical. He was blowing up a ton of plays. And I think for a coach like Mike Macdonald, you need guys like Ernest Jones. You need guys like Demarcus Lawrence. On bad defenses, guys overreact to that, like run play to the right. And really, it'd be like a screen to the left. And bad defenses doesn't get out of position. One of the things you'll recognize over the course of the season with Mike Macdonald is his defense is super patient. Guys are not over pursuing. Guys are staying in their run fits. Even if the play looks like it's about to be some sort of outside run play, guys will stay in their run fits because what it looks like is oftentimes not what the play ends up being. And there are multiple plays where the Seahawks did a great job staying patient, just letting the play develop, and then just kind of getting there, swarming to the football and blowing the play up. Ernest Jones also did this a lot where he was just patient. He kind of did his job, and they're able to shut down the 49ers, arguably the most explosive, run game coordinator that the 49ers have, one of the most explosive run games. The Seahawks did a great job shutting it down, right? Josh Jobe also had an interception, so shout out to him as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. This will be the format of most videos going forward. I will have some videos where it might be a little bit more focused on film, where we'll only look at like one guy. But generally speaking, this will be the video that we will do as we kind of go forward. If you guys enjoyed this video, man, let me know in the comments below. It really does help me in determining the type of videos I want to do. If I only decided to focus on like the O-line, I talk about like Charles Cross, I talk a little bit about Abe Lucas. But in this video, I can talk about more than just one guy, right? I can talk about scheme. I can talk about some of what the offensive, play designs were and those type of things. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys drop a comment down in the comments below and let me know. With that being stated, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.